1, 2, yes. Cool. Thank you. How many engineers does it take to change a light bulb? 1, 2, 1, 2. My name's Spence, and this is Thaddeus.
Hello.
And I work in the BBC Blue Room, and Thaddeus is in media operations. The Blue Room is it's a facility. We've got one in Salford, one in LBH, London Broadcasting House, and we have a virtual one. The purpose of it is to accumulate technology that's going to affect how content is consumed and how content is made, audience behaviours, that sort of thing. So we look at all the letters, AI, VR, MR, TV operating systems, and we're basically a facility to allow staff to get their hands on, and we do insight sessions on stuff as well. So if you come to LBH or Salford as a guest, then please ask to come and visit us in the Blue Room. So we got asked by Dave. He knew that we like messing around with VR, we like making things, and how could we help them deliver this rebuild from Wogan House to the 8th floor in LBH. Basically, our day job isn't to make VR experiences. It is, well, what do you do during the day, Thad?
So I work with a branch of the BBC called Media Operations, which is basically the operators and engineers and technical staff up and down the country who effectively make programs go out and make programs happen. I'm not as accustomed to speaking out on stages to audiences, so I hope you don't mind if I do refer to my notes quite regularly, hold them very tightly. So we facilitate radio, television, and online, all those broadcasting large events from the Olympics or the BBC sharing the Olympics to your Glastonbury's to Match of the Day type programs, which are quicker turnaround. That's where you'll be seeing some of the technologies which we've been using, seen in the BBC.
Yeah. Hello. Okay, so why did what was in it for us? So how do you leverage this sweat equity, this ragged trousered philanthropy? In talking about technology, I view it's always important to be able to make something with it, and by making something with it, you get a sense from the manufacturer about their support. You can then key into any forums, any sort of, the knowledge ecosystem around a product or a device. And it's an opportunity to patch into that, and you get a deadline as well, which is always handy. And another motivation for us was the cross-BBC collaboration for myself to work with Thaddeus and to work with Dave. And just to kind of, I always think the BBC to me feels like a coral reef of different kind of competing tiny subsystems and stuff, and it's important just to get this kind of horizontal connections. And a third motivation is to, it feels on the horizon like three-dimensional content is on its way. So I've been working in 2 other projects where one is the BBC collaborating with a company called Condense, and with that they are streaming live volumetric capture of an artist from Maida Vale, using 11 Kinect cameras and a big server to kind of live stream a 3D mesh, a moving 3D mesh into a browser. So there's that piece, and we've just on Saturday we did a piece with a collaboration called MaxR, it's a European collaboration, and in that the piece of work was filming and audio streaming the Philharmonic in Dock 10 in Media City, and then presenting that, streaming that into an instance of Unreal Engine that had kind of no cap on numbers going into it. So that's with a partner called Improbable, and they have shown they can have about 10,000 people as avatars in a video game in the same space. 10,000 people, 10,000 avatars in the same space is a sight to behold. It reminds me a bit of Starship Troopers when all the bugs are kind of... Luckily, we had about 200 people, and it went really well. Systems crashing and coming back online super fast, and the usual. So essentially, for me, it feels like there's 3D stuff's on the horizon, and it's important to start building kind of connections within the BBC in an informal way of 3D capable people, so that as these projects pop up, there is this kind of like a Rolodeck of people to get in touch. Cool. So
what tools did we use? So we used the MetaQuest 2. This was the MetaQuest 3 wasn't out at that time when we started this. And also Dave had one as well, so we could just email builds over to him for him to try out. Meta is the artist formerly known as Facebook. They bought Oculus in 2012 for about $2 billion. And basically Meta have ploughed about $44 billion today into R&D, into headsets. They've got glasses out now with their lenses in. And their end game is to have see-through augmented reality glasses. And basically they want to change the form factor from mobile phone to glasses. So that'll be good, won't it? And we used Unreal Engine from Epic. So Fortnite video game played. Anyone's got kids here, or indeed play yourself on Fortnite. It's got about 63 million daily active users, I think. It's all powered by Unreal Engine, so it's a kind of a well-proven games engine. Games engine is a 3D world building system. And Blender, which is where you came in.
Yeah, so for modeling, and for the most part, this was CAD, just handling the CAD designs that we had brought in. And then, just effectively creating the models there from then. We went a little bit further, and we'll show you some stuff at the end of the presentation, which is using some of Blender's deeper systems, like geometry nodes and whatnot, to try and automate this, to make it a procedural, sort of more flexible thing. But yeah, are there any Blender users in this space at all? Me and you. That's my guy right there. Okay, cool. Nice to know. All right, yeah.
Blender's free to download. If you want to get into 3D building, there's loads of tutorials, and like most things in life, there's always a 17-year-old on YouTube that can show you how to do it.
Yeah, the knowledge isn't bad.
Yeah. And the other tools we used was trusted reference documentation, which should be obvious, shouldn't it? But you want to have the latest 2D design of a thing to make sure that you're not having a load of wasted effort. So here's some shots from the site visit. From this we got, a kind of sense of the space, and also some kind of textures and things to sort of bring in. And also what was important as well, to get a sense of the view from the outside. So we took some like kind of wide panoramic images. Yeah, so we took some panoramic images from that to then bring into the build later on. And this is a shot from a video from. Oh well, you can explain this.
Yeah. So one additional extra thing that we used, I didn't list it down there because it was only just for adding reference to the shots that we've got, is an application called F-Spy, and effectively what it allows you to do is to take a 2D image and use it for your orientation and your basis for what you would then build on top of in your 3D DCC, your program of choice. So effectively what this allowed us to do was, Spencer was down in London, I was up in Salford still, doing programs, taking some photos, send them back over, and quickly, the idea again is to make this as cost-effective, as efficient, and as more useful than just hard work. It just can provide us sort of just rough sort of layout for what types of work will be, what type of direction we'll be heading towards. Send that back to the production, send that back to Dave, make sure this is all looking according to step, and then you can start moving forwards with the heavier actual modeling and such.
So these are the 2D CAD images we're getting. So these are the studios. One of the important things in the brief from this was to ensure was to get a real-world sense of eye lines and how it actually feels in the studio to move around within it. So if I go to the next slide, you can see that basically for these three studios, they wanted to have a flexibility of control positions and patching to suit. And so what we did, the step was to then bring these 2D CAD drawings into Blender, and then to hand kind of crank all the walls and everything to kind of to match it. It's pretty. I'd like to say it was straightforward, but you did it.
Well, yeah, no, it was. So at the minimum, with a blueprint like this from top down, without actually having any other CAD material or anything like that, it's as simple as just tracing out and drawing through the lines, keeping everything to scale, and then going on from there, we can look to sort of like make things whatever necessary size and parameters they need to be. But very kindly, we had all of the CAD drawings that we need. I'm pointing towards Dave over there. Thank you, Dave. I had all the CAD content that we needed, and so yeah, this was just quite simply just like extending and extruding little bits of geometry in Blender to make sure that I'm representing the space as accurately as possible, and then I put some lights in just to give it a bit of zhuzh.
Yeah. And also we wanted to populate the space. Now, so Thad put all these together, and at the back you can see the kind of the plan for the the walls and the windows, which we're using to get the heights right, and the desk in there was quite important because going back here, these are the desks going in. They're all powered, so once they're installed, they can't easily be moved. So this was the main point of all this, I suppose, was to check the desks were in the right place, because of the cost involved. And I mean, we'll talk about the cost of these things at the end. I think that feels appropriate, doesn't it? Yeah, these are the objects which we wanted to populate the spaces, and the important thing here was to get a low vertices count. Thaddeus, what is a vertices?
Well, the idea is that what you're seeing here is like a very heavy object and a optimized object. And the idea that we need to optimize because using the equipment that we're using isn't necessarily as powerful as like your PlayStations or PCs or whatnot at home. So we're going to need to run things as lightweight as possible. So a vertice being effectively the equivalent of like a pixel. It's like the smallest unit that we'll use in 3D space to sort of represent the models that we build. So as you're looking over here, apologies for the mouse handwriting, but so if we've gone from 70,000 up to 1,000 and a half over here on this like mic stand, and it may not seem so critical, but sometimes it can require as many vertices as that to just represent the form and the shape of a object. In the same way, I guess in 2D drawing, you would be adding forms and curves and whatnot to sort of define the object itself. But the goal here is to represent the object with as little vertices as possible, so the power can be used in everything else that's running all of these hundreds of people that may be in an environment. Not ours, but
yeah, not ours.
Not ours, no. But yeah.
And at this point, I suppose it's useful to point out that so the Quest 2 is essentially an Android phone. So it's got quite low powered. It's also running 2 screens at once, and it's doing all the the calculations of where it is in actual space. There's cameras on the front. The Quest 3 has color cameras on the front. This model's black and white, and the Quest 3 is quite useful, quite interesting to try out. I'd recommend it. You've also got Apple with the Apple Vision Pro, but that's about $3,500.
Nah.
So yeah, it's a nice, expensive disappointment if you want to try it. Other headsets are available. So yeah, so it's important to get the vertices down. It's important to get it as performant as possible, and that brings us now to this bit. So. Hopefully this will work. I've done the appropriate sacrifices to the tech gods.
I realise you don't have the mic though. Maybe I can keep this around you if needs be. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll stay over here.
Yeah, cool. You can see that. That's good. Oh no, is this one still on as well?
Is his mic one? Is his lapel enough?
I can project, darling, perhaps. Okay. So yeah, so I'm in the base menus now. There's a browser built in here. There's a lovely website there. So I'm going to fire up the experience. Normally with this, you can set a space to move around in. I'm going to go for the standing one, I think, having done the dynamic risk assessment. So when you land in the experience, normally you land here with the kind of the instructions there. There's not too much in it really. There's no kind of there's no shooting games or anything in here. Dave did request that so he could let off steam in it, but we decided against it.
My conversations of 2025.
So you can teleport around, turn with the left joystick, and we've got a menu down here, which allows me to reset, show the floor plan and hide ceiling, and back to reality, which is always handy. Here, this allows the floor plans that we've been working to come in, so we can prove, what we've done is in the right space. And I can teleport around, and I'm going to teleport sort of here. And then that means, Thad, you grab me for me.
Yeah. No, you're good so far. You're good so far, right? Yeah.
This, in fact, I can turn with the joystick. I don't know where. So, so we can see from here. We've got good visibility into other studios. And if I go into this one here, I can see into these guys there. And if I pop over here, this was the image that I took from that site visit, which just adds a little bit. I mean, I'm no massive expert in this, just enough to be dangerous, really. But just to give that sense. So another useful thing from this, apart from checking sight lines and the feel of the thing, is that for stakeholders as well. So if you've got somebody who's not quite on board with the build, or with a decor or anything like that, you can put something like this together, and then they can actually feel what it's going to be like, and perhaps be reassured, or perhaps make some more inspired and informed requests to the team that are more grounded in reality of the situation. Here's these CDJ decks that you're doing earlier on. These are good, Thaddeus. Really.
Thanks, man. Yeah, effectively what they are is just a photograph that I've just expanded out on. So again, rather than having to add all of the detail in there, just a photograph basically onto the top that suits us enough to be able to sell exactly what we're doing, so.
I'm not a live cameraman, aren't I? Okay, and I think if I go down here, there should be, if I recall, there's the brew. We had let's think. Yeah, so we kind of wandered outside the room now, which is always handy.
Maybe reset.
Yes, well,
yeah,
let's
benefit of
reset.
having the menu.
Yeah. Reset orientation, Bosch. Excellent. Cool. Yes, great.
Also, you're facing the wall. You might want a 180. Just yourself.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
So I found myself by the Thames, isn't it? We've got the kind of a green room area here, and then sort of the photographs from the site visit up as well. So further down the line, this could have full build kind of things and act almost like as a kind of a gallery of the build, if you want. And then out here, this is the kind of the suite of like the kind of building blocks from what we talked about earlier. So. We did about 9 different builds of this, iterating it, sending it to Dave. We had a demo in Salford with it, and there's talk of helping out with a build in Cambridge, and perhaps Digbeth, the tea factory and stuff. So we haven't really got a plan for a blue room in Digbeth. So one strategy is to build it in VR, so they assume that there's going to be one. And so other opportunities. Cool. So let's go back to reality, which is always handy and nice. Cool. Ooh, still here. Great. Cool.
Welcome back.
Hey. Back in the room. Let's
next steps. So. Recommendations from this. If you've got a build happening and you've got someone doing all these drawings, it might be worth asking them, are you A, interested in making a VR version for us in Unreal or whatever, or B, can you supply the 3D files for us, please? You may not then be scared by the amount they want to charge you for that, but it's worth asking. The there's also the thing that, you know, everyone. I mean, in Blue Room sessions, we always say, is everyone here using AI? So has everyone tried ChatGPT? I imagine if in this room, if I asked, has anyone not tried AI of any form, there'd be no hands. A proud Luddite, sir. I'll see you at the spinning Jenny later. Excellent. But the all kind of crushing sledgehammer of AI isn't really useful in this process yet, because you can't just go, here's a CAD drawing now, please make me a 3D environment. It just won't. We've looked into it. Well, what we have found is that procedural generation, which is a bit more nuanced, seems to help out. So this is something that Thad put together. Thad.
Well, like you were saying, I think with the goals with these types of works is that we kind of want a bit more control on hand at all times. Is it playing?
Oh, it is now.
Cool. So what we can do though is, yes, work procedurally, right? So what you're looking at the moment is a very small bit of visual code that I've put together in what is Blender's geometry nodes, and I've basically set it up so that we can take our CAD instructions over here, our simple sort of outlines, which are just curves, and quite literally like picker, clip them, grab them with the picker, and then effectively erect a 3D model immediately. Now, obviously, it requires a little bit, it certainly requires finessing and such things like that, but it will allow us to sort of look through as many different versions of the space that you may require almost immediately. And then beyond that, we can then start looking at discussing in real time then the parameters that you might want to change. Over on the right here, you've got wall width and wall height. Wall height is the most worthwhile, effectively one here, depending on what you might need to test. It's about, like, procedural designing effectively is just about trying to do things as non-destructively as possible. So if I can give you a bunch of parameters to play with, experiment with, find out what it is that you want, hopefully the idea is that we will all be able to get closer to your idea, maybe even before you really know what that final thing actually looks like. So again, it's just other options that we could, I say we as a community of enthusiasts, I guess, we could look to set up so that this is as dynamic as you need it to be and as useful as we can make it.
Yeah, it's a nice, quick way of getting something rustled up. Things like the doors, it's not. If you were to then take this to build an AI system, you'd have to train it. The doors aren't, don't do them, or but it feels imminent. Basically, it does feel very soon, and I'd be surprised if not within the year, surely. And even as an add-on, as a kind of a plug-in into Blender, that could happen. There's these doors here, but this is another function of this procedural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, just another option is just taking effectively what you'd seen before, and then thinking, okay, I realize now as we spoke about it, like, this is a seat. This is someone on a seat, sat down, and that's their legs. Just in case I got that. So basically, just look at how many seats could you fill in this space with a certain amount of buffering, certain amount of space and margin for accessibility for multiple members that might be coming through in your spaces. And again, depending on what is the next question, you can look to add that into your code. Effectively, it's just Python code that it was using there, just in node-based form. Just continue to experiment, continue to find out those answers in a cost-effective way. Yeah.
Excellent. So, I suppose one outcome from it was that some of the desks were indeed moved. I believe that's right, wasn't it? So money was saved, which is always nice. It wasn't just it had an outcome. And as I mentioned, there's a request to work on to help out with Cambridge and Digbeth. So we'll see how that goes. And yes, and another way forward with this would be to use the Apple headset. Seeing as we have them for demo, they would they'd do it at a much higher fidelity and a nice feel. And again, and it would talk to that, working with, having something to do with a piece of technology to further learn more about it. And that would be within Unity, I'd have thought. So yes, that all remains for me to say now is thanks for watching and listening, and we have some minutes for questions if there are any.
We have, yes, absolutely. I was just going to put your hand up quickly as we come to you. I was just going to ask, actually, you talked about one of the outcomes. I'm sure the outcomes of this wasn't just moving a desk.
Yeah.
What sort of other productivity did you get out of this?
So the question was what the...
Yeah, what did you get out of doing all this in terms of designing the whole thing?
I suppose an insight into what's, the radio studios and kind of what, I suppose on a personal level, maybe. With the deadline and fast iteration needed, then getting a bit more match fit with Unreal Engine and the pipeline for building onto the Quest 2, which has since been improved for the Quest 3 now.
How expensive is this?
This is not that expensive. The most expensive thing is time. Yeah. The Quest 2 is about £300, Quest 3 is £500. Unreal on a personal account is free to download. You're not making anything commercial with it, so it's still, terms and conditions could do with a good scan there by the legal department, and I'm sure they'd throw up a blocker or two. And Blender's free as well. So it is time is the most expensive thing on this.
We discussed other things that could happen in the future as well. It was just like running this on like a web browser, or putting the model simply in a space where you could see it on your phone, or have it so it could be on your phone and then using AR, just project it into a space so we could all be walking around it and having a look. So it depends again on how, on the level of production that you kind of want to go with this. But yeah, there are a few ways to keep the cost down.
Yeah, you'd use JavaScript and a library called 3JS for the 3D stuff, and it uses WebGL in the browser, and that's quite nifty. It's really good, actually.
Great. Does anyone have a burning question before we move on? We have a quick one over there. I think this has been... We've managed this before. We can do it again. Oh, nearly. Great stuff. Brief question, brief answer, please. Thank you.
So to do all of this VR stuff, that's a lot of skills. Were you already using, for example, the Blender stuff as part of your role?
No, not as part of my role. And that's, it kind of goes back to sort of what we were saying about what we would look to get out of this, and what's in it for us is me and Spencer met during like a hack week type thing, or voluntary stuff, where we quite clearly, quickly realized that both of our goals in our different departments is to try to bring these slightly more advanced methods and technologies to the regular productions and things like that. So I had been dabbling quite deeply, and so had Spencer independently, and then we have come together to use that extracurricularly. We'd like to see it again more in production, and like I say, like with Unreal Engine's use at the minute is just mostly for a platform for environments like Match of the Day and things like that. Obviously, we've got a graphics department which will build that type of stuff, but we'd like to see it amongst more regular news broadcasting and outlet and stuff like that. I think it adds a real impact to storytelling, again, when you're talking about flooding and stuff like that, and you can actually visualize what that's actually going to represent in a community or in an area, as opposed to sort of like pointing to a weatherboard. So, no.
Great. Thadeous, Spencer, thank you very much indeed. Great stuff. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.